What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Well, in today's video, I'm actually wanting to talk a little bit about fitness. And don't worry, I'm not going to try to start doing a fitness channel or put fitness all over my channel and everything. But if you remember back in Guam, I actually went on several hikes and I kind of enjoyed it. As you can tell, I haven't been doing that a while because I'm kind of out of breath already. But I've actually, here in the last couple of weeks, tried to start back walking. It's one of those that I kind of laughed earlier today whenever I'm filming this, because Roland Keith over in Australia just put out a video where he's talking about the summer over there is starting and it's time to get back in shape. Well, wouldn't you know, the first of the year, Ben from Bite Beards and Brews, he actually talked about, having a New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, and how getting back in the gym, fitness, and all that is one of those things that kind of grinds his gears. And I get that. And I made the comment on that, I'm going to start back going to the gym, but I wasn't going to be one of those New Year's resolutions. I was just kind of wanting to, because really before COVID is really kind of the last time that I was in the gym a lot. And since COVID, I just kind of haven't had the motivation. And then when Ben put out that video, I'm like, here's kind of a motivation to kind of try to do it and not be one of those people. But I ended up, after about 2 months, I kind of got back running and everything. And about 2 months into it, around middle of March, I actually kind of stepped wrong and hurt my ankle. And it kind of stayed hurt for a little while. And it's one of those, as you well know, you kind of start something and then you kind of get out of the rhythm. You really just, it takes a lot to get it back in that rhythm. And so one thing led to another, and then it got to be summer, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to be running because of the heat, and just making excuses, just being honest. And so the last, 2-3 weeks, we've had, really high temperature. It was been up in the upper 90s, right at 100. We actually, about 3 or 4 days ago, we actually broke a record of 103. But it felt like it had been 110, 115 because of the heat index. And that's like today, the temperature's only in the 90s, but because of humidity, it actually feels like 99. But, I'm actually wanting to get back in shape, kind of like I was back whenever I was in Guam, because I just felt a lot better. My body felt good. It's also one of those where toward the end of last year, whenever I was riding off-road, I kind of noticed that, one of the bike drops I had, I was winded. I mean, I was hurting from trying to pick up the bike in all the mud and everything else. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. And I really haven't been riding off-road this year. It's one of those where I've kind of had a problem with the output shaft, and I've really not really wanted to ride it very much because I wanted to get a new chain and sprocket. And like I was kind of telling you in one of the previous videos, money's kind of tight right now. And so I finally got the chain and sprocket and all that after, several months, and got it put on. And so here we are trying to get back into shape so that I can actually go back riding off-road. But, it just baby steps. Like I said, the last 2 weeks I've been kind of walking twice a week and been staying pretty steady. This is kind of my 3rd week of walking, and like I said, I just kind of wanted to talk about it for a minute, and I'll see you a little further up the road. So yeah, I'm not doing any kind of hiking or anything. I'm actually out at a local lake we have, and I'm walking around the lake. You know, they got these trails that kind of go through the woods and everything, and all along the trails you have those little workout deals, and I think slowly starting to do those while I'm walking, or maybe once I build back up to it, start running and then kind of stop, do those, you know, to kind of help build me back up, because, you know, I get bored kind of sitting there in the gym just lifting weights. I actually myself prefer the calisthenics, or kind of the stuff where you're actually just moving around, you know, just using your own body weight, you know. And so, you know, like I said, with the money being tight, I'm not really wanting to get a gym membership, but by doing this and just using my regular body weight, I can, you know, get a pretty decent workout, not even going to a gym, you know. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be doing here the next couple of weeks and everything. And with it, you know, toward the last week of August, it's going to start cooling off here very soon, and I will be able to start running whenever it gets a little cooler and everything, and just keep building on up until, you know, I get kind of back somewhat into the shape I was in prior to COVID. Because let's be honest, a lot of us, once COVID hit, we all kind of got out of going to the gym and everything, and, you know, we just all need to kind of get back into it. So let's keep walking and see what all else we can find as far as workouts. I actually think that was the first bald eagle that I've actually ever seen in person. It's one of those that I was kind of just walking around to film, you know, that what you just saw, and I happened to hear it taking off, and by the time I could recognize what it was and could get my phone to the video to record it, it was already kind of where you saw it. But, you know, it had the gold beak, and it also had the white head and the white tail and everything. But that was pretty cool. I've never seen one actually in the wild. I don't know if I've ever seen one even at a zoo or anything like that, but maybe I have, I don't know. But I got another workout. So another thing that Ben actually talked about, and I believe it was in his video where he was talking about doing iron butts and everything, endurance was one of the things I believe he talked about. You know, I mean, you're going to be riding 18 some odd hours, and, you know, if you don't have your endurance built up, you're not going to be able to, you know, last that long and everything. And I'm not saying I'm wanting to do iron butts and everything like that, but, you know, riding off-road is kind of got a lot of endurance as well. And, you know, I think that's one of the reasons why I got so winded whenever I was riding off-road back in December and I dropped the bike, was because, you know, I just didn't have the endurance anymore. And so I'm wanting to rebuild my endurance back up and everything. And, you know, I mean, that's just kind of all I wanted to talk about, you know, is how much do you actually work out to go riding motorcycles? You know, I mean, do you work out any, or is it one of those where you just kind of have that youthful endurance where you can just kind of go about your day and go hop on the motorcycle and do 1,000 or go ride off-road and everything and not be winded after a few miles and everything? You know, I'm wanting to be one of those where at almost 40 years old, I'm wanting to be going, you know, and doing a whole bunch of off-road and not be winded whenever I got into a couple of miles or one or two mud holes that I actually dropped the bike and everything, kind of like I did back in December. So, like I said, that's kind of all I got for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. And let me know what y'all thought about it. You know, like I said, y'all kind of tell me y'all's thoughts on this and everything. And, You know, share with some friends that, you know, may ride off-road, or maybe kind of, I don't need to go to the gym to go riding motorcycles. You know, I got endurance all day long. Do they really? You know, I mean, or are they kind of like one of Ben's latest videos where they go to a local bike night and they don't even kind of ride over 10 miles a month or anything like that, you know? So those aren't real bikers, you know. We like long distance, you know. I mean, not saying 1Ks, but, you know, we like going down to Florida and stuff like that. So until the next video, always take the center route, and I'll see y'all then.